Step back, sir. You don't live here. That voice cracked through the early evening like a starter's pistol, snapping the quiet. And for a moment, even the cicadas seemed to hold their breath. A woman in a fitted, white dress, pearls shining, lips curled into the kind of smirk you only see on folks who believe the world owes them something, stood there with 3 private security guards stacked behind her. One of them was already fumbling for his handcuffs, like he was about to get a medal for justice, but really just itching for some show. Thing is, the house she was so desperate to protect, it belonged to the man she was pointing at. Not that anybody bothered to check because, people see what they want to see. And tonight, nobody wanted to see a broad-shouldered man in a gray tank top, calloused hands hanging in front of him, patience written across his face like he'd had to rehearse this part his whole life. He didn't say a word, didn't even shift his feet. He just waited steady as an old oak. And patience, well, folks like her, they see it as defiance. The guards grinned. The biggest one let out this snort like, "Who does this guy think he is?" The smallest leaned in, lowered his voice just enough so the crowd could still hear, and spat out, "Guys like you don't belong past these gates. Money didn't get you here, so don't bother acting." The woman started up again, heels stabbing the driveway with every step. "This is a private residence. Cry all you want. Call backup now." And behind her, the gate's keypad blinked to Lyford, then green, like it was waiting its turn in the drama. Nobody noticed because in that moment, everyone was too busy watching the man who wasn't supposed to belong. If you're still watching, where are you from? Drop your city below because stories like this, they could happen anywhere, you know what I mean? And if you care about dignity, hit like, subscribe. Let's keep going. He'd seen this before at 23. Landlord refused him the keys to his own place. At 30, valet tossed him the wrong set. Sure, he was hired help. It never stopped stinging, but you get used to the pain like you get used to a stone in your shoe. It was the contempt, not the words, that wore you down. A crowd started forming, neighbors curious, some wary. A teenager holding up his phone, whispering, "I'm recording this." The woman in white snapped, told security to snatch his phone. She wanted control, but it was already gone. The man finally spoke, voice so calm you'd think he was calling out bingo numbers. "You're certain I don't belong here?" Laughter, handcuffs glittering. And behind them, that gate hummed a little mechanical growl that set everyone on edge. Then, the screen flashed green as recognized owner profile. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. It felt like a verdict, but arrogance is louder than evidence. Glitch in the system. One of the guards shrugged, hands still itching for the cuffs. "Real owners don't show up in gym clothes." The woman snapped, looking him up and down. He didn't answer, just shifted his leather bag. No brand. Nothing flashy, just well-worn. He'd walked into storms bigger than this. The gate chimed again. "Welcome home, Mr. Carter." That voice school, automated, undeniable, froze the whole street. The teenager gasped, live stream comments exploding. But the woman doubled down. Anyone could hack that. "He doesn't belong here." A silver SUV slowed. A neighbor watching through the window, tension building like thunder behind clouds. "Mr. Carter didn't flinch. He'd been told he didn't look the part his whole life. At the gates of his own mansion, same old story. One guard stepped forward. "Look, sir, protocol requires verification." The gate's camera's word, suddenly focused not on Carter but the guards. Unauthorized personnel detected. Access suspended. Their badges flickered, then died. One yanked his earpiece, got nothing but static. Suddenly, the system wasn't on their side. People in the crowd whispered, "Did it just lock them out?" The woman in white's voice cracked. "This isn't real. You're manipulating something." Carter's words cut clean. "This house knows who belongs. I didn't have to do anything." The air grew heavy, thick with the sense that the house itself was about to pass judgment. The guards froze, caught in the headlights of something bigger than them. The tallest tried to act tough, but you could hear the tremor. "Ma'am, the gate just revoked our access." She snapped, "I don't care, do it before he gets inside." But nobody moved. A jogger, slowing, called out. That system literally called him Mr. Carter. "That's not a glitch." She hissed back, but her control was slipping. Carter spoke to the guards, voice low but sharp. You know what happens when you stop listening to protocol and start listening to bias? You lose everything. That landed harder than anything all night. The younger guard tried again. Sir, I need to see your ID. He reached out, touched Carter's shoulder, and instantly the house's alarm shrieked. Lights snapped on, harsh and bright. The system's voice boomed. Warning, unauthorized physical contact with the property owner. The guard jerked back, face ashen. On the live stream, you could hear it. It just called in the owner. Bro owns the house. They're done. The woman in white was unraveling, desperate. He's lying. He staged this. Look at him. He doesn't live here, not dressed like that. Carter didn't even blink. Clothes don't make the owner. The deed does. Mine has my name on every line. That was when the mood shifted. The guard started looking uneasy. The crowd leaned in. For once, Carter wasn't the one on trial they were. Silence fell. The woman lost patience, screamed for them to restrain him, but her voice broke on the word restrain. The tension wound tighter. Carter lifted his head and stared into the nearest camera. Identity confirmed. Full access maintained. The crowd was getting bolder. Phones everywhere, the narrative changing in real time. Carter's silence wasn't passive, it was powerful, and the crowd could feel it. A neighbor in a red blouse stepped forward, quiet, middle-aged, voice strong. I've lived across from this house for 8 years. That's Mr. Carter. He moved in before half of you bought here. The woman in white spun on her, but the neighbor stood her ground. I'm recording everything you're saying. A man leaning on his SUV chimed in. He's here every week, jogging, saying hi to the mail guy. Why are you treating him like a stranger? The crowd murmured discrimination, profiling, people shaking their heads. All this just because of how he looks. The woman in white tried to shout over it. This man is trespassing, but nobody bought it now. Carter finally spoke to the crowd. Use your words, not just your cameras. The teenager, live streaming, asked, You mean speak up? Carter nodded. The neighbor in red moved closer. You don't get to erase him. Not again. That was the turning point. The gate wasn't a barrier anymore. It was a courtroom, and witnesses were finding their voices. The woman in white went for the kill. He's a fraud, a con artist, and you're letting him play you. The guards rallied a little behind her, but you could see the cracks. Phones kept swinging back and forth, 10,000 people watching live. The woman spat. This neighborhood was built to be safe. People like you threaten that safety dressed like that, walking in like you own the place. Someone whispered, That's too far. Carter just stood there, still as ever. The guard tried his radio static. Someone in the crowd yelled, Even your radio knows who owns this place. Laughter broke the tension, sharp and sudden. The woman lost it. Go back to wherever you came from. Carter's response was ice cold. You keep saying I don't belong. Ask yourself, why do you? That broke the spell. The guards looked like men caught on the wrong side of history. One finally snapped. That's it. You're under detention for trespassing. He grabbed Carter's arm, gasps all around. Phones caught everything. The tallest guard moved in with the cuffs. The woman in white was exultant. Yes, get him out of here. Lock him up before he fools anyone else. But as they tried to slap on the cuffs, the system's voice rang out. Warning, use of force against the property owner will trigger escalation protocol. The cuff jammed, refusing to lock. The crowd erupted. That house is protecting him. The woman screamed. He hacked it. He's a criminal. But nobody believed her anymore. For the first time, Carter's voice rose above the crowd calm, powerful. You just called me a thief at the gates of the mansion I built. Every word, every action, you've only proven who doesn't belong here. The crowd cheered. The guards froze, realizing they'd crossed a line that couldn't be uncrossed. Carter reached into his pocket slow, deliberate, pulled out his phone. Nia, activate Westgate protocol. A woman's voice crackled back. Understood. System override engaged. Above, cameras swiveled. Guards' badges flashed, red access revoked. Phones everywhere, voices rising. He just shut them down. The woman in white screeched, Stop this. You're bluffing. Carter stared her down. I don't bluff with what's mine. The system's voice. Security clearance terminated, awaiting owner authorization for personnel removal. The guards' badges buzzed, then went black. The crowd laughed, cheered. He just fired the whole team on the spot. The woman's voice was tiny. You can't do this. You don't have that power. Carter's eyes were granite. You mistook silence for weakness. That was your last mistake. The gate opened slow, deliberate, like the house itself was passing judgment. Owner profile confirmed. Welcome home, Mr. Carter. The teenager nearly screamed. Did y'all hear that? He's the owner. Images flashed on the screen. Forbes cover. Ribbon-cutting evidence undeniable. The crowd was all in now. The guards, badges dead, hands trembling. The woman stumbled back, drained and desperate. Carter's voice was the final gavel, calm and sure. You call me a trespasser at my own mansion. Try to cuff me at my own gate. Tonight, the truth denied you. The applause rose, cheers, clapping, phones streaming for tens of thousands. The balance snapped. The guards, once towering, now just small men in cheap uniforms. The woman, shrunken and alone. The red blouse, neighbor pointed at them. You laid hands on him. Tried to erase him. Every second is recorded. The guards knew. You could see in their eyes it was over. This could cost us everything. Someone for the crowd shouted. You just profiled the man who owns your jobs, your paychecks, your future. Justice, real and raw, unfolded right there. Carter said quietly, you locked me out of what I built. Now, the truth has locked you out instead. A mother pulled her daughter close. Remember, this respect doesn't wear a uniform. It wears dignity. Applause rolled in waves. The guard stood stripped of everything but shame. Carter lifted his phone. Nia, log the incident. Terminate Westgate security detail. Effective immediately. Badges buzzed, then blacked out. Phones auto-log out. Screens reading access denied. Employment terminated. A teenager's voice shook. He just fired the whole team. Right here. Instant karma. The crowd clapped slow, then loud. The sound of justice delivered. The woman in white begged. You can't do this. You don't have the right. Carter's reply was a death knell. You mistook my silence for permission. Consider this your correction. The crowd jeered. The guards looked like ghosts. The neighbor in red lifted her phone. Justice isn't loud. It's final. Carter stepped through the gate, lights bathing him in green. The fired guards frozen, the woman trembling against the wall. Carter had dismantled an entire system without ever raising his voice. He turned once, voice clear. You tried to erase me from my own gates. But dignity doesn't need volume, only truth. And as the gates swung shut behind him, the crowd cheered, phones catching every angle the moment justice stopped being a word and started being real. The night buzzed with debate. Was it enough? Was it too much? Who gets to decide who belongs? That's for you to answer in the comments. So what do you think? Where does justice stand in the side of rules, or the side of what's right? Drop your thoughts below, because in stories like this, your voice matters.